Hi, I'm JD, and this is another video on my playlist about backpacking. And I'm back from my trip, actually, but I want to go back and talk about planning again, specifically about food. And so I would like to talk just generally about backpacking food. My next video I plan to do about dehydrating your own food. And then I have a bunch of videos planned for some of the recipes that I used on my trip. So before I talk about food, these videos aren't meant to be totally comprehensive, so I hope you find them interesting. But if you want more information, there are certainly a lot of other resources. This one's very old, but this is a book that I bought when I was first learning about backpacking, and it has a whole chapter about food, and it talks about fats and proteins and carbohydrates, and so that's important. Carbohydrates are things like sugars and starches and, like bread and pasta, rice, potatoes, those kind of things. So they have energy, but if you think about how much energy per weight, you want to also consider some of the other things like proteins and fats, okay? So protein, we don't use it a lot for energy compared to things like carbohydrates or fats, but it does help to keep us full longer. So, and of course we enjoy it. So things like meats and, vegetarian things like beans and peanut butter and lentils, those kind of things. And then lastly, fats. So fats, for the amount of weight that they have, they provide a lot more energy. So, at the end of the day, you want to include some fats in your food. So oils and again, meats, peanut butter, those kind of things, okay? So don't just take carbs, because then you're probably taking extra weight, more than you actually want to. So that brings me, again, to sort of repeat some of the restrictions we have with backpacking, specifically about weight, because you don't want to take a bunch of food that's really heavy. Can't take a cast iron frying pan, you can't take a cooler with you. So you also have to look at, will it spoil, or, will it go bad, during the trip, those kind of things. So just keep that in mind. There are a lot of resources for recipes. So certainly there are books, but online there's lots. So some things that come to mind are The Clever Hiker is a website, and they have lots of recipes that you can have a look at. Fresh Off the Grid is another good one that I've liked. And I think those two, that's how they make a living. So, they have books for sale if you want to buy books. There's lots of people on YouTube. There's one that comes to mind is Chef Corzo. He's actually a professionally trained chef who has lots of food ideas for camping. So that's another one to look at. I will say, though, a lot of people on YouTube do eat a lot of junk food, like the backpackers. And there is some benefit to that. So if you're only eating like the candy or the high processed foods while you're on your trip, and you don't eat like that the rest of the year, then I guess it's not a big deal that it's really unhealthy for you. But those things, they tend not to have any water. So if you think about candy, there's lots of sugars, but there's not a lot of water. So you get quick energy without, all the weight that normal food would have. And it won't go bad while you're on your trip. So it doesn't matter if it's a hot day or anything like that. So there is some benefit to those things. A long time ago, I was a long distance runner. And when we went running longer than an hour, we would have these little gels that were just basically concentrated liquid sugar. And it's not that you need those calories to power your run, but bringing up your blood sugar a little bit, it actually helped with fatigue. So if you're backpacking and you're on the trail for more than an hour, or like 4, 5 hours, 6 hours a day, then you're having quick carbs available to you while you're on the trail. Might help you with fatigue. Okay, so I have tried to get away from a lot of the junk food. And so that's why I'm like a big proponent of dehydrating my own food. And so that's will be my next video. But I guess they do have their place. There are also pre-made backpacking meals you can buy. So I was at, a most excellent camping store before I went on my trip, and I had to look at some of their packaged foods, and they were about $14 to like $19 Canadian. So for someone like me, like that's like maybe $50 a day or so on food. So that's kind of a consideration. That sounds expensive to me. And that's just one person. Okay. One person, like eating for one person. Okay. Food for one person. So yeah, those are an option. They're lightweight. They won't spoil. You can put the boiling water right in the bag and wait 10 minutes and you can eat it right there on the spot. And yeah, I mean, they've been trying to perfect their recipes and everything. So they're tasty and they're light, and you just have to throw the bag out when you get home. So those are, again, an option. Okay. If you're going to the store, and you're, kind of sort of buying regular groceries to take for your trip, more than likely you should get rid of the packaging. So, get rid of the box and take the package, right on there, right on there what it is. And there's a date on there because I probably won't eat it again till next year. But yeah, get rid of all the packaging as much as you can. I mean, all the garbage that you take with you into the trail, you have to hike back out anyways, and it's just extra weight. And, we don't want garbage in the backcountry. So, portion out your food, get rid of the packages. But when you're in the store, if it's not something that needs, that's in the refrigerated section, then there's a good chance that, it'll be fine on your trip. Again, be careful about the weight. You got to balance that with how much you're going to enjoy this thing. If you love that, whatever sausage, it's going to be heavy, but when you're out on the trail and you're craving that sausage, then it's probably worth it for you. But yeah, if it's not in the refrigerated section, it will probably last. Some of the things in the refrigerated section, if you're taking those, so something like butter, it will last probably while you're on the trip. Cheese, especially the lower moisture content cheese, you can take, and they kind of sweat while they're on the trip, so you want to wrap them in like parchment paper or something. But it will last a few days. Have a look online. There's a lot of people have talked about that. There was one cheese, I didn't take it, but it was like 26% moisture. So if you look right on the front of the package, it has the fat content, but also the moisture content. So the softer cheeses tend to have higher water content, but then they don't last as long. They'll spoil. So get the harder cheeses, lower moisture content, and they will last. I took hot dogs, so I love hot dogs, especially on the fire. So I stuck those in the freezer. I only took 3 because that's maybe about how many I might eat in a single meal. So I stuck them in the freezer, and then just before I went on the trail, I wrapped them up in my tea towel that I use in camp, and I stuck that in my food bag. In Algonquin, you're not allowed bottles and you're not allowed cans. So some of those things, I might put into a plastic bag and stick that in the fridge. Like maybe stick the can in the fridge, let the whole thing get cold, and then just before I go, put that in a bag, keep it in the fridge until it's time to go, and then, make sure you eat those like in the first day or two, like maybe the first day. Or like I said, you can freeze stuff. Okay. So those are just some thoughts about if you're going to the store. So what are some of the foods that I do buy and I take with me? Again, I make a lot of my own food and I dehydrate it, and so that's going to be the next video, but I did grab some things with me. So for breakfast, I do tend to eat oatmeal. So these were I didn't use any of these this time, but I'll take instant oatmeal. Okay. These ones are plain, so you don't have to get the sugary ones. And I make my own trail mix. I go to the bulk barn and I buy walnuts and sunflower seeds and raisins and chocolate chips. And, I kind of figure out how much I want. And I probably took like 4 cups of my own trail mix this time around. And, you know, when I have oatmeal, I just throw a small handful in and I have that. Nowadays, so I would just buy the big bag, figure out how many mornings do I want to eat oatmeal in a row, and figure out how much I want to take, put that in a single bag, and then on trail, I just take out, you know, the amount that I need for that day. If you like your oatmeal creamier, then you can have it with powdered milk. Okay, and so this has been very useful. Most grocery stores I find have the skim milk, but this one is whole milk powder. I seem to be able to have no trouble finding it at the Asian grocery store. Okay, and again, whole milk because it has more fat, and I want more fat because I want the calories, right? I want to make sure I have enough energy each day I'm on trail. And so it says how much to put in. So, you know, if I'm going to take 3 cups of oatmeal, then I measure how much I need for the 3 cups. And then I look on here and how much water do I want to go with those 3 cups. And I take that many teaspoons of powdered milk and throw that in the bag with the oatmeal and then mix it all up. And then on trail, I just take out however much I want and pour the boiling water and there's breakfast. Okay. I have been starting to use powdered eggs, and that seems pretty good. Like if you like scrambled eggs, and so that was one of the things that one of the videos that I'm going to show in an upcoming video. There is a company, MHO Adventures, and they're from Huntsville actually. So here in Ontario, and yeah, they make powdered eggs, and it seems pretty good. You know, there's another brand. It's I think an American one, but yeah, I tried to buy the local one, and yeah, it seems like an interesting company, this MHO Adventures. So check them out. I've had Pop-Tarts to go with my coffee. And so that's interesting. And yeah, like especially with the kids, that was a treat and they like that. And so, yeah, there are other options. Some people have a big breakfast. Some people don't. Some people just snack on trail. So you know, whatever works for you. As for coffee, I have taken coffee beans coffee grounds in the past and like paper filters and everything. But nowadays I just use instant coffee. And so you can buy a container and stick it in a bag and just like put however much you need into your mug and with the boiling water and have that. Nowadays I tend to have sort of the prepackaged instant ones. So I don't have to worry about it spilling everywhere, and it has sugar and it has some sort of creamer in it. Yeah, then I just kind of I plan to, I have like maybe 3 every 2 days or so. Some days I just have 1. Some days I feel like more than 1. Sometimes I have it at night because I don't want a coffee after dinner. So I use those. But yeah, you have to pack out the garbage afterwards. But I find it more convenient than the coffee grounds or a big bag of powdered coffee. Meal, so you can buy, packaged meals. So in the beginning, I had things like tuna helper, and so that would come in, sort of like a box like this. So you read the instructions and maybe write that down on a piece of paper, and so you remember how to make it and get rid of the box. And then you can get like tuna in a foil bag. So yeah, I mean it's a little bit of extra weight, but then, you had hot food. It was like sort of instant and you had proteins and fats with it. So that was a good option. Things like instant mashed potatoes. So again, just basically just carbs. So it tastes good. It has lots of energy, but you don't want to just live on these things. But yeah, it just takes hot water, boiling water. So you can see I only used half this time around. And again, if you like it with milk, then you can use the powdered milk. Okay. I do have, different things like highly processed food. So I really do like instant ramen, especially this one actually. But yeah, I take dehydrated meat and some vegetable like bok choy. So I'll show you that on the trail. And so then it's not just the powdered processed chemicals and empty carbs, but some other stuff to fill me up longer and have more texture and things like that. Other than just coffee, I I tend to just drink water while I'm on trail, and but I know that for some people, they don't like just plain water, or if you're using the chemical cleaners of the water, like the Aqua Tabs or Pristine, I think is another one. That adds a certain taste to the food that some people don't like. So yeah, you could take powdered drink mixes. Somebody at work keeps giving me powdered drink mixes, and my kids do like having this kind of thing. So I'm saving it till they come out on the trail with me. But yeah, if you want flavored drink, like you want it to taste like juice, there are options. I do use some Ziploc bags, and a lot of people do, but what I tend to really do is, because I buy groceries from the grocery store, especially the smaller grocery stores, if it's something where the bag is still clean, like apples or tomatoes or something, then I make sure it's all dry. So I set it out on the counter, make sure it's all dry, and then I'll save these bags. And then by the time I go camping, I have a whole bunch. And so I use these a lot for my food. And I reuse the bags. Some things are wet and, so I wouldn't use them. Or, if there was a chance of getting mold in there, I wouldn't use it. I don't use bags more than twice. But, yeah, since I have to put my produce into a bag anyways, then, yeah, I take these home. And if I can, I try to reuse them, and they come in very handy. Keeps the food dry, separates them into individual portions. I can see what it is. And yeah, it's less likely to spoil. Another thing I found helpful on trail and improving from year to year is I like to take a little notebook with me. So this is like a spiral ringed one, and I can open up the rings, and I took out like half the paper because I'm not going to fill out the whole thing. And then I put it back together with needle nose pliers. But yeah, I make lots of notes to myself, things I want to make sure information about, like the taxi and the bus and things like that. I scribble about the weather forecast. But I also make, and I'll show you a picture of this on the screen, but a list of all the food that I'm going to eat on trip. And, some things it's like 2 meals that I have, 2 portions. And so I keep track of that. I keep track of which ones I need a fire to do because it takes me longer to cook it. Which ones I don't need to cook at all. So that's very helpful. Like if it's raining and you don't want to go out and start the stove up, it's good to have some meals that you don't have to cook. Or if you're on trail and you don't have to cook them. And then I also have, I write notes to myself about what I thought about that meal and how I can make it better, or was it too much? That portion, was it too much? Things like that. So then I can improve over time. And then, yeah, writing down ideas as well as like a journal. So, yeah, that's very helpful. I think one of the last things I want to talk about in this video, something that I thought was very useful and interesting when I first started, was instant soups. And so sometimes when you're on the trail and it's a long, hard day, when you finally get to camp, you want to set up your tent and you just, want to go to sleep because you're exhausted. And certainly, yeah, I have had days like that. But the problem with that is that, you burnt all those calories that day and now you're exhausted and you're just going to sleep. So you're not really replacing them. And so then when you get up the next day, yeah, you're going to have breakfast and everything. But, your energy stores are kind of low and you're going to fatigue easier. And so one of the pieces of advice that I learned early on was to have things like instant soup. And so then when you're tired, you just like boil some water, stick this in and drink it. And it has some calories in it. And it's warm. And so you'll feel better and you'll get a bit of energy, enough to, stay up, have proper dinner, make proper dinner, eat proper dinner before you crash and go to bed. Okay. And so this bag's kind of ratty because it's gone on several trips with me. I've never actually had to use it, but I usually do take soup with me for one of those long, hard days, or if I run out of food, like I need a little bit of extra food because I'm more hungry that day. So I pick soups. I like miso soup. So I actually bought this for the trip, but I didn't actually end up taking it. There is one I like better. It has less sodium than this, but you can buy powdered miso soup. But these ones, they have in them a packet, so there's two here, with a paste in it. So that's the miso paste. And then there's a packet with some sort of dried, dehydrated food in it. So those together would make your soup, right? And this one is wakame, which is a kind of seaweed. Okay, and there's the one, there's tofu and other things. So yeah, when I want soup on the trail, I might have something like this. Okay, with the paste, it's much nicer than the powdered ones. So those are the major concepts that I want to talk about in this video, and there's lots of resources out there, so check them out. Okay, but remember, maybe more backpacking recipes than camping. You want to portion your food out. Okay, don't try to take extra. I'm not really, maybe one day's worth of food extra, maybe. But even then, I try not to take extra of anything if I can get away with it, just because it is extra weight that you're going to carry all the way out there and bring all the way back. Okay. So portion things out. Get rid of the packages. Okay. Balance your carbs and your fats and your proteins. And yeah, like try out different things. Make yourself notes. What did you like? What did you not like? What would you like next time? And then you enjoy your trip more and more, and you get better at backpacking. All right. So that's what I want to talk about in this video. And I want to thank you for watching. If you have questions or comments, leave them down below. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about dehydrating your own food. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, Ted.